you can create a hit, but building communities, that's something different. We are in it for the long run, and we don't want to create one day flies. We want to create superstars. That's in the end
Yes.
what it's about, and then it helps if you create these fan bases. And I would say the easiest is probably to start within the home territory. You see that with an artist like Alok, for example, who is...
Hey, I'm Graham Farmer, founder of the dance music magazine Data Transmission and Twitch partner, streaming on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays from 1 p.m. On this channel, we share the full interviews from my Twitch streams. But before we jump into this interview, if you can help this video get more reach by giving it a like and a comment, it'd be most appreciated. And don't forget to consider subscribing so you always get notified when we drop new interviews. Welcome, Susan.
Hi.
To my Twitch stream, to my Twitch, to our disco shed in my garden. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm slightly let's do this. I'm excited. I've got a load of questions that are literally really kind of a little bit for myself, because as a label owner and a blog and a marketer, I'm like, right, I'm going to go in deep with you. I want to pick your brain. Let's go for this. So, first up, you've just got a new role.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's amazing. Can you tell us about the new role? Let's start with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's very excited. I've been with Spinnin for over 7 years already, and I've led the marketing teams that are completely focused on records, on the music for the past 5 years on top of my mind. But the complete market unit was always separated into two parts. So we had one sort of brand focused unit, which was mainly working on the channels. So the social media channels, YouTube, but also video and design, advertising was all part of the different unit. And I was handling marketing, promo, streaming, radio. And now that's all sort of, combined into one big marketing department. And I am the one that may lead this. So it's exciting. It's still very new. It's literally my first day. So nice. You have a scoop here. This was announced this morning. But yeah, it's exciting. Looking forward.
Okay, so that's mad. So you're bringing all the departments into one place, and there's going to be a new focus on kind of newer technologies, and as well as kind of the existing kind of, I guess, bread makers that putting music out, releasing records, so that these other technologies as well.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest advantage that we see by creating one big hub is that we aim to deliver our artists the highest service level possible. And that was always on top of the list, but now that everything is sort of, combined into one, and that we are all 100% aligned, we feel like we can really take the next step. We are also definitely focused on Web3, the metaverse, NFTs, etc. That department is spearheaded by Steven de Graaf, who is our commercial director. But we work together very closely on everything. I mean, it's all about combining forces, right?
Cool. Okay. Gang in the chat, I'm glad she said that surname and I didn't have to, because we know how bad I am with it. With we swerved that one, gang. We swerved it.
Dodge the bullet there.
And how will that impact the service to the artists you've got currently?
We just want to deliver complete marketing strategies. And it was always a challenge when you have two captains on one ship to make sure that you always in for smooth sailing. And I think now with combining all of our efforts, that's way easier. And I'm getting help 100%. It's a big department. It's, I think, almost 35 people. So I'm definitely not the one that's leading that all by myself. I have 4 heads reporting into me. One who is focused on promo, one who is focused on marketing and social media, video and design, and the streaming portals, obviously. So a head of digital. So I will be working very closely together with these 4 guys to make sure that we deliver on every aspect, and not only creating communities, but delivering hits in the end. I mean, that's what it's about, right? At a record company.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, the bread and butter. The let's deliver the numbers and the streams. I guess at the end of the day. Before we sort of get into kind of artists you've grown, I just thought we'd just talk about you and like obviously a lot of people kind of want to be DJs these days, but obviously you're working in music now at one of the highest levels. Did you always want to do that? Did you always want to work in the industry? What was the kind of steps along to
Yeah.
get to where you are now?
Yeah, to be fair, I did. My mom always tells me the story about me being 5 years old, telling her, one, I'm going to move to Amsterdam, which was a big deal when I was 5 years old, and work in the music industry. My dad was always a huge dance fan, and we listened to his collection on a daily basis, usually in the car because his sound system was the best out there. So we sat in his car for hours, like in front of our door, which was quite funny. So I always had a heart for music and especially dance music. I studied commercial economics, which I mean, it's very broad. I came out of high school and I was like, what am I going to do? Commercial economics, marketing. Let's go. And my final internship was at Universal Music, and that's what really sort of got the ball rolling. And I got offered a job at Warner Music quite soon after that. Started out as an intern, then made it to a product manager, eventually head of media and dance music, and then Spinning called. And I was like,
Nice.
okay, now my heart for dance music is really,
Yeah.
ticking. And I always wanted to work on a global scale. I used to work for Warner Benelux, which was amazing, and I've learned loads. But when Spinnin offered me the job in a global position, I was like, okay, I need to go there. So here I am now.
And you said you've been with Spinnin 7 years, so that must have been like that's
Yeah,
7 years, but that's 20. That's like
2015.
yeah, the company must have been. That was when it was properly like I guess booting off properly. Like it was, you had some big artists then, big record. I mean, you still have now, but it felt like that part of time was really big for the label. I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was completely different though. When I started at Spinnin, I think there were like 30, maybe 35 people working there in total. And if you compare it to where we are now, the marketing department is 35 people. And we have almost 90 people in total. So we sort of, tripled from that perspective. But it was fun to come into a family. We still call it the Spinnin family. And just create something out of, I wouldn't say nothing because the artists definitely aren't nothing, but start from scratch. I think that's always what has been Spinnin's biggest power, so to say. Build artists, build releases, build music within the dance genre as a whole.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, and I guess you now have the ability as a the label is the biggest thing, and you have the ability to just take these people from like you say from zero to
Yeah.
When you find them, do you find them like actually literally like this is their first records, or have they kind of got a little bit going on before they come to you? How's that look?
It depends, to be honest. We have bigger artists that sign with us that already have a fan base or already have multiple hits under their belts. But we also work with artists that are just getting started, that we just feel like the music is amazing. We have quite a big A&R team at Spinnin, led by Jorn Heringa, who has been with Spinnin from the beginning, literally. So he's very experienced. And that in combination with the fact that we have loads of sort of scouting tools, plus our Spinnin talent pool, which we look at on a daily basis. So we see you. That makes the perfect combination, so to say. And that makes our job as marketeers fun as well. Work with established artists on one side, but also really create something from scratch.
That's cool. That's really cool. Do you get to test stuff that's kind of like with the smaller artists, then go, oh, it worked with the smaller artist as a case study, and we can then try that as a campaign with a bigger artist, or vice versa?
Of course. I mean, we intend to learn from what we do, the things we do well, but also the mistakes we've made, because not everything connects and not everything works. We release 15 to 20 tracks each week. So it would be amazing if we deliver them all, but we don't. That's not possible. That's not feasible. But we intend to, reach our goals and reach our targets, and that can differ per release and per artist.
Holy moly. No, that's a lot of records every week. Holy moly!
Moment, I can tell you that.
Holy moly! That's why they've got so many people. Holy moly!
Yeah, we need it.
Wow, I'm fully aware of the talent pool. Like I've watched it and seen it for so many years. It's what you've created there is incredible. Like so, firstly, congrats because I loved it. When I saw it so when did I see it? Like a long time ago, and I was like, wow, that's great piece of kit. Like well done. And have many of your are you pulling releases from there and artists getting signed from there often?
Definitely. We also do, I mean, we have the talent pool itself and we have the A&R team that listens to the demos, but we also create, for example, remix competitions. So we give the audience the stems and just, see what they can do with an existing track. We have Spinnin Academy and the world biggest demo drop that we host during ADE to give people sort of an extra stage, to really take delight and show what they are capable of, but also have the direct interaction with our A&R team. Because I can imagine that from the outside, just, sending over your demo and not hearing anything, you're like, yeah, is it even listened to? Is something happening with it? But it is. We have people listening to it all the time. It's just so much. And we need to be, picky because an artist needs to have a certain USP almost, sort of say. It's all about good music. That used to be our slogan and it still is. But we also, and maybe that's coming from a marketeer like myself, we also need to tell a story to our audiences. That's very important. So that needs to be there. And we can create that, but it goes hand in hand with the artists and the managers.
Someone in the chat said, as an independent musician, how does one get listened to by the Spinning A&Rs? Only through the talent pool? ?
Yes, and during a Spinning Academy and the World Biggest Drama Drop and the Remix competition, so the things I just mentioned before. Yep. I mean, our A&R team exists out of 3 to 4 people, which sounds like a lot, but isn't really a lot, just looking at the amount of demos that we receive. So I'm not giving away email addresses here or telephone numbers because the A&R team kill me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, just to give a tip, just tell the story, give a bit of background. Let's show us the skills, so to say. I'm not an A&R, but yeah, what I heard from them.
Sammy artist. There you go. Hope that helped you. So most recent, your work has been on the act Lumix, a spinning artist you helped build from square one to competing in this year's Eurovision contest. Lumix was essentially a SoundCloud artist with a few bootlegs up on his personal page. And since he truly has been about of modern success with tracks going blistering viral on TikTok and Insta before winding up with over 1 billion streams. Gang, that's a billion with a B. Can we talk about his story?
Yeah, I mean, we knew Luca was something special from the start. Honestly, he was still so young. I think he was 17 when we met him, and he was already able to create such an outstanding and refreshing sound. And that, in combination with his personality, really makes it a golden formula, so to say. And I definitely need to give Warner loads of credit for this act as well, because we've worked together very closely on this one. And Germany absolutely kickstarted his career with Monster, which was sort of a breakthrough track with Gabri Ponte. You might know from Eiffel 65's I'm Blue, Dabba Dee Dabba Da. Yeah. And they just, they pushed the right buttons at the right time on radio, on streaming, on marketing as a whole, with creative marketing being at the forefront. And after Germany followed the French, the Nordics, Benelux, and now he just recently represented Austria during the Eurovision Song Festival, like in a nutshell. But that's how fast a career can go.
That's a mental kind of curve. Like, you picked him up and he literally had bootlegs. And then what was the kind of guidance? Did you kind of guide him through, like, let's get him in the studio and kind of start originals? What was where did it kind of go from that period? And how did you stop pairing that story and that kind of his kind of brand and profile,
No, definitely. I mean, I would say our A&R team was very much involved in shaping his music and shaping his career. But so was Gabri Ponte, who really is sort of his mentor. And those three combined, Luca Skills, our spinning team, and Gabri and his team, he just created song after song after song. And after hearing them, we were like, okay, this is like high quality music, 100%. To be fair, did I expect Monster to be as big as it literally became? No. And in the end, it's music. You never know. It always happens that I hear a track and I'm like, oh my God, this is the biggest hit ever, and nothing happens. That's probably the reason why I'm in marketing and I'm not an A&R. I think that's a good thing. But with Luca, like I said, there was just something special, and he's so skilled. And also when you just have a one chat with him, he's so nice and smart, and he knows what he's doing. And he was definitely a breath of fresh air, so to say. Seriously, he was. So it's never just only the good music of only a nice guy, or it's always the combination of things that make the needle move, I would say.
Yeah, that's cool. You see it all the time. You see some people that are like, they're making some good music, but then they're dicks, or they're just, and you're like, you're just not going to. You can see them kind of go. You can see them getting to a point and then going. You can see it happening from when you're standing behind. Like, that's not going to go very far. Like,
no, and I'm not saying that you need to be the nicest guy in the industry. You just have to, nurture the people. Not that only that you work with, but also your fans. I mean, they are the reason of your existence. And I feel like DJs, and not only DJs, but artists as a whole, need to understand the value of that.
Yeah, exactly. When you find acts like him, what other things are you looking for? Like, I guess you're saying it's music, but do you kind of look at like look and what he's doing already, like, or is there anything else that kind of builds into what you might look for an artist when you're picking them up?
Like I said at the beginning, we are always looking for a story to tell. We always start by asking our A&R team the questions like, why did you sign this act or this artist or this single? What's the goal from your perspective, which is very useful to know. But then we get into talks with management and the artists themselves as well. We are the repertoire owners, so we always sort of like, very close in touch with each other. And we always take the time to get to know them as persons, what their goals are, how and why they have created this song, and sort of all the factors that contribute to creating that story and that narrative. And we try to find specific USPs that differs them from the rest, because it's just not only a good song it's not enough anymore. You need more.
Yes, this is some of the things that I've kind of tried and drill in myself. Like, there is more than just a record. You've got there's social media channels that you're going to build fans on, and like you say, you'll build these audiences and communicate with them, and like you say, you've built him across TikTok and Insta, and it's got to 1 billion streams. But was there any kind of pushback from the artist when you're going, let's go onto TikTok, or let's do this on Instagram, or were they kind of, with this artist, was it let's do this and be fully involved, and how does that work?
Luca was definitely ready to put in the work, but I feel like as a record label, it doesn't make sense to tell the artist, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's a conversation. An artist needs to be comfortable, and it needs to feel authentic, because otherwise the audience, they know if it's staged, they know if the record label is behind it. It doesn't make any sense. But he's literally in that target audience with being so young. So it was for him, it was sort of a natural thing to do. But for some artists, it's not, and I don't feel like we should force them to do so. We just need to find other ways. There are lots of opportunities within music marketing.
Yeah, I guess that's that. Like you say, that having that conversation, it's.
Yeah,
like you say, there's plenty of platforms and channels, and I guess it's sitting there with having that conversation and going, right, what are you comfortable doing, and then from your side you can go, right, he's comfortable doing this, or she's comfortable doing that, and well, maybe we can use this channel, and that's going to work best for this artist, and this is going to be the campaign.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that we then leave the channels that he or she is not comfortable with, that we don't make use of them, but just in a different way. And we obviously have the advantage of being Spinnin. We are a brand on its own, so we can give a push I wouldn't say without the artist, but maybe without the artist's involvement to a certain extent. So that helps. Or we look at, creator marketing and work with influencers. And, there are different ways to sort of, I wouldn't say attack, but approach certain.
I like the word attack. Let's go and attack. Like, yeah, let's go.
But yeah, in the end, yeah.
Let's go. Let's own it. Let's attack it. I'm going it. It's sales at the end of the day.
If you want to win, you have to go for it. Yeah.
Exactly. So when you're building artists like Lumix, what sort of do you kind of look at a plan of kind of length of time, and then was that kind of affected by the pandemic with the artists you had kind of in a kind of that plan through, and did you have to kind of change them for certain artists or even for Lumix because of how the world changed?
Yes, but in terms of the pandemic, I mean, we have never released as much music as we did over the past 2 years because our artists were completely focused on creation. They finally had the time to sit down in the studio and actually make music, create music instead of being on the road. That said, I mean, now it sounds like this fairy tale, which it was definitely not, because for them personally and for the scene as a whole, it was a complete letdown, obviously. And I mean, dance music being about the live experience, being in a club or a festival, and that part just wasn't happening. So that was horrible and awful. And I'm happy that we are getting back on our feet. And for the more commercial tracks, so to say, it was okay. But for the more club-focused singles that actually start within these clubs and on these festivals, it was a complete, I wouldn't say mess, but it was very hard to build singles and tracks and artists if there's nothing happening from that perspective. So we really needed to be creative from that point of view.
Yeah, because I guess like just thinking of like the music you put out, it's very kind of banging and as it is, and it needs clubs and it needs those kind of big venues that will help push those records. So that's interesting. You're saying releasing more music through pandemic. That's mad. Like fair play. Yeah. That's well good.
Yeah, and I mean, radio was still tagging along, and streaming was still doing well. People were listening to music more than ever because they were just sitting at home. So that was all from a positive note. And we have loads of tracks that are way more focused on that sort of commercial side of dance music. But like I said before, the tracks that find a living within the live scene, that was hard. And that was almost non-existing. We just sat on them and released them now. Now everything's open again and the parties are happening again.
That's mad. I spoke to other label owners that kind of through that pandemic where they had to get creative with their back catalogue and kind of push those because they sort of saw spikes and rises of more streams because people were at home and they were listening to the old tracks that they knew. And were you doing the same in the background?
Yeah, no, definitely. That was definitely one of our focus points. And I mean, our catalogue always is. We have such a huge heritage, so to say. We've been here for over 20 years and we've had so many big hits in the dance world. So it was definitely the time to sort of re-engage those tracks, but it was also time to, help the artists out that were struggling also financially because they weren't able to play and music was their only income. So we wanted to cater to them as well, obviously.
Oh, that's interesting. Did you, like as a company, find financial ways to kind of, that's interesting you're saying that you're then helping your artists out. That's, yeah, fair play. Okay. So much talk about Instagram. There's so much talk about the moment about Instagram and how the algorithm isn't working for DJs and producers now, which I know is a sweeping statement. And usually when people say this, it means they just don't know how to use the platform at the moment in its current state. Always interested to understand what is working for you as a label and you as your artists and what platforms they're doubling down on right now.
I mean, we are very much focused on TikTok, obviously, Instagram, especially Reels, but we are also very actively involved on creating communities on platforms like Discord, for example. We have a big in-house social team and we work with several partners across the globe to sort of increase our presence globally, but also locally. Most recently in India and China, for example, we work with local partners. because music just isn't restricted to borders or boundaries. So we need to be on top of everything and every platform that sort of pops up, but we can't jump on all of them. That's just, it goes so fast. And, we have a big team, but not that big. So we need to make sure that we contribute our resources to the right platforms, so to say. So only the ones that we feel like really tap into our target audience and where our community is based.
Again, are you then, and then is it a case by case where you look at an artist again, like we were speaking earlier, and saying, right, this artist is going to be best on this, and it's going to be on. We're looking at, again, I guess you look at territories and go, right, we're trying to build an artist in these territories, and these are the platforms we need to focus this work on and this content for.
Yeah, 100%. Very data driven.
Nice.
Yeah, as all the record labels are at the moment. So we definitely take a deep dive for each and every release and see where their current fan base is situated and where we feel like we can create a bigger one. I think the overall strategy at Spinnin is that we have a global but also definitely local approach, because we don't believe in sort of smacking things against the wall and hoping that it sticks. We intend to conquer territory by territory by territory by territory. I don't think it's realistic to create a hit on a global scale, all of a sudden out of nothing, poof, it doesn't work like that. So we really need to, look into the data of an artist, look at his social media stats, live profile, demographics, history, streaming numbers, and sort of, run an analysis on where we should pinpoint our efforts, promotional wise, marketing wise, resource wise, but also money wise, because we don't have multi-million budgets. We don't. A lot of people think we do. We don't. So if we spend just a few K on a certain release and we just throw it out there in the world, nothing will happen. But if you really target into a specific audience and into a specific territory, then you can move the needle. And once you've sort of conquered that one, we go to the next and we go to the next and we go to the next. And then the ultimate goal is world domination, obviously.
Yeah. I just think I used to like playing Risk as a kid, and it sounds a little bit. Yeah. It sounds like a lot like that.
It is, and that's what makes it fun. And when I talk about it like this, I can imagine it sounds really easy. It's not, Sometimes the needle moves, sometimes it doesn't, and you have to be prepared for that as well. But I do believe in that strategy, and at Spinnin, we are also in the lucky position that we are able to work together with Warner Music, which we are part of, obviously. So that brings a big boost as well.
Like what you say about community, I love that, and the local sector. I love that the Discord thing. I really enjoy. We have our own Discord. I know you've got your own Discord. Are you then doing those for artists as well? Is all about community first and foremost, and then that helps you build your records? Is that what I'm getting?
Resource-wise, we are focused on building Spinnin's Discord channel, but we definitely help artists out by giving them tips and tricks and show them what works and what doesn't. But if we need to sort of curate and host all these channels, then we need to sort of like go times 10. That's just not feasible. But we definitely intend to work together with the artists and the management closely on that, because we feel like we can all sort of, I wouldn't say benefit, because that's a negative word, but we need to help each other out in the end. That's what it's about. We need to combine forces.
And I guess when you're talking about local, then I guess it's, as a lot of our audience is new DJs and producers, and they're focusing kind of building their social channels, and some of them are right at that start of that profile. Should they be focusing on their energy into who's local and who's very local to them first, and then like you say, working out, or if they've got a track that's going, it's music at the end of the day, and there is a global audience for this music, where should they do you think their energy should lie as a right at the very start?
I think it differs per artist, and that's probably not the answer that you want to hear. It would be amazing if there was just one sort of golden rule that you need to follow, but I don't think there is. for some artists, for Lucas and Steve, for example, they're assigned to us, and in the Netherlands, they are like absolutely A-list. They're one of the biggest acts in dance music. And we use the story that we've created all together in the Netherlands towards Germany, towards France, towards Nordics, etc. So it just helps, again, creating that story. But we also have acts that just explode on TikTok. And it doesn't even matter where you're from. But you can create a hit, but building communities, that's something different. You know, we are in it for the long run, and we don't want to create one day flies. We want to create superstars. That's in the end what it's about, you know. And then it helps if you create these fan bases. And I would say the easiest is probably to start within the home territory. You see that with an artist like A-Lock, for example, who is huge in Brazil. He's literally like, he can't walk on the street over there. But we still have work to do in Europe. But we are using, again, that story in our markets to convince people that he's the shit. He started out in Brazil.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it obviously myself as an editor. Like, we'll get pitched artists and go, well, they've got this story. It's all about Brazil, and they're kind of maybe. And can you write about them, because obviously you've got more of a UK fan base or a Europe fan base, and then we'll start kind of we'll pick up artists and cover them, and then because we've covered them, so then you can take that to another place, and we've seen it ourselves from a data transmission point of view. You know. Yeah,
I think the local relevance is super important. We see that with the streaming portals as well, you know, with all of our sort of key stakeholders. If we tell them a record is making waves in, you know, you name it, a certain territory, and they're like, okay, but what's happening locally? It's, you just have to make sure that, you know, conquer.
I suppose if it's the local is those are the people that are going to come to the shows first, and it's those fans that are going to come to the shows, and then you build the kind of the rest of the tour schedule around the fact that you've had a sellout show or you know, worked up the show ladder, I guess.
100%. And this maybe sounds like a bit traditional, but you know, you need to put in the work. You indeed need to go touring. You need to do the interviews. You need to do the promo. You need to do the TV shows. You name it, you just need to put in the efforts and the time and the energy.
As we both know, social media platforms are about content, good, bad, funny, the ugly, the cats, the dogs. I'd love to chat about your tips for our DJs and producers in the chat, and how they can kind of make better content, or any ideas you've got around content that they might be able to take away and use this afternoon for their next release. What's working for you?
Yeah, I mean, this probably sounds like a cliche again, but I feel like the artists should stay true to themselves. It doesn't make sense to force artists to create a somewhat funny video if they aren't funny, or at least they don't want to show it. You know, it's not something that they want to use to their advantage, so to say. So in that case, I'd rather look at a different angle or work with creators, and you know, what sort of content depends on the track on the artist. If it's a club banger, for example, then live content still works very well. So I'm happy the clubs and the festivals are open again, you know, either by themselves or other artists playing their songs. We recently had a track by Piero Pirupa, We Don't Need, which contained like a revocal of Pink Floyd's The Wall. And Carl Cox played that, and they made a video out of it, and we were like, yes, you know, that's amazing. Just the fact that Carl Cox is playing a Spinnin Record was like,
it's very cool.
That was like, check, an achievement on our list. But if you got the footage and you can show the community that it's not just, you know, the artist playing it, but him Carl Cox being an authority in dance music and sort of approving on the track, that's gold. That's amazing. That still works within our audience.
Yeah, the approval, but above everything else, that Carl's into it. Like that's, but also then I guess the day that you get that video, that link that's got that video in it, I bet as marketers you were having a little dance around the dance party in the office, like, you know. Was it a case of like, Right, where can we shift some marketing budget? We've now got to push the hell out of this video because it's incredible.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you can set a certain marketing strategy from the beginning, but you need to adapt and adjust along the way. And if things like this pop up, then you need to go for it. And I mean, DJ promo as a whole at Spinning is very important. We have one person completely focused on that, making sure that all the big names in the industry have our music and that they are able to play it live on all the big stages, if whether it's UDC of EDC or Ultra or Tomorrowland or whatsoever, it doesn't matter, because all of that content is captured on camera, not only the cameras by the festival, but also the people with the phones. And that's amazing content as well. So that's a big chunk. But also personal messages resonate very well, exclusive previews, snippets, short interviews, you name it. It just depends on the artist and the song. But I think it's important that you have enough content. And I don't want to wear people out or burn them out. That's definitely a hot topic at the moment. Yeah. And that's not what we're striving for. But you need to keep yourself in the picture. And there are different ways of doing that, but content is always key.
Just a thought when we were talking about this Carl Cox thing, like when you got that video, was it, I'm guessing you spoke about influencers earlier. How was the breakdown of like, right, we've got this video. Do we then push it to the influencers? Do we put it by our own self? What was your rollout on that?
It usually doesn't work with influencers that you tell them what to post. You work with an influencer because of the way they have built their audience and they interact with their audience. And it needs to come from them. So we usually give them quite a lot of freedom because they know what resonates within their viewers, so to say. So what we, in the case of the Carl Cox clip, then we just put some money behind it and push it through our own socials, but we didn't really use influencers to say, oh my God, listen to this. No, we make a combination between the two.
That's cool. You have, as you spoke before about, you obviously are spinning and you have the brand and you have kind of the label's brand. How does that content differ for yourself, and what is the thought around kind of building brand against your artist content? Is there a difference? Is there a kind of, what is your narrative there?
Yes, content-wise, there is a difference. Then I'm again referring back to the fact that they need to be comfortable, and we can do what we want to do because we feel like that fits our brand, but it doesn't necessarily also meet their sort of requirements and what they feel comfortable about. So that differs. I think it's a two-way street. We are here to help building our artist brands, and we do that by using our brand and using our accounts. Channels, but we can't grow our channels without having great music and great artists on it. So it literally goes hand in hand, 100%.
That's cool. I was at Brighton Music Conference last week and I was listening to the social media panel and the marketing panels, and the word Snapchat came up often. And I was like, hey, where have you come from? Really? Old friend. Yeah, old friend. I was on Snapchat a long time ago, and I kind of moved away from it because I'm really into Insta, and I'm really into obviously now Twitch and YouTube. And again, I can only focus myself on so many channels, but I was like, hey, I loved Snapchat at the start. I was fully into it. And the DT Snapchat was popping before we went on Insta and all these other things. And I wondered if you are using it, if you're using it from a paid point of view, if you're using it from a content point of view for your artists. Yeah, I just thought we'd chat about Snapchat.
I mean, to be fair, we were quite active on Snapchat, quite similar to what you just told, actually. It has slowed down a bit. We definitely don't use it as actively as, for example, TikTok. But that said, I do feel like there are loads of opportunities on that platform when it comes to reaching that Gen Z audience. So it's definitely on top of our list to take another close look at, so to say. And I also hear from a lot of my counterparts that it's also a great way to for example, advertise your music. It's not that expensive. stuff. You can reach a big target audience quite easily. It's just, it hasn't been on top of our list, but I think it should be.
Yeah, this is I like the word "best bang for my buck" was used, and I was like, "Hey, you've got my attention!" Like,
Right?
you know,
Off we go. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean? I was like, "Hello, I'm here. What's best bang for my buck?"
Great, let's go. No, 100%. I also think we have a big community actually on Snapchat, but it's just, a bit on the down low because we have been so focused on Instagram and TikTok for now, and also YouTube, obviously, and Twitch and Discord. So there's so much going on. But I feel like this one should be added to the bunch.
Yeah, someone's being assigned that next week.
Yeah, 100%. My first task.
Right, as vice president.
Yeah.
You'll be moved to Snapchat.
Yeah. That sounds really bad. I don't really like that.
We're joking, spinning team.
Yeah.
How are we all doing in the chat? Is there a reason Snapchat's making up? No, do you know what? I think there's still a massive like our son is heavily on that Snapchat, and like he literally only uses Snapchat, and he's 20 now. I forget his age. Shit. And this is why I kind of was like, because I see him on it all the time, and I'm like, okay, he's literally on Discord and Snapchat, and I'm like, hey, I'm in Discord, I must be cool, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want to sort of show your age.
You're right.
At least that's the situation where I'm in now. I'm like, not telling that.
Yes. Are you constantly thinking of like, where is my next fan and buyer coming? Like I've always, from a data transmission point of view, thought my next fan is 5 years away, and they're doing, where are they right now? So I'll kind of make some content in that space because I know that I want to essentially bring them into the fold later when they listen to music, and where is my next fan coming from? Do you do this? Do you do similar?
We definitely aim to do similar. I can imagine that in the day-to-day, it sometimes goes a bit in the background, but we definitely want to stay ahead of the curve. I think has been one of Spinnin's biggest advantages. We were one of the first that sort of cracked YouTube, so to say. We almost have 30 million subs. We probably reached that milestone in September. It's going fast. So we've always been sort of early adopters when it comes to creating these communities and these channels, and we want to stay ahead of that curve without sort of over flooding ourselves or betting on the wrong horse.
30 million. Wow. Gang, we've not busted it out, but I'm busting out a Hulk smash for 30 million. Hulk smash! I'm busting out the Hulk smash for the 30 million, gang. Wow, 30 million. I'm about to hit 35,000. Come on. Yes, the 30 million. Well done. That's amazing.
It took a few years, that's for sure.
Yeah. We've my next question was going to be about kind of getting on Spinnin, but we kind of spoke about signing records, and I was going to ask you maybe the most fun and inventive way that someone's tried to get you music, to get you signed on the label.
I mean, to be fair, our A&R team is sort of, holding down the fort when it comes to signing music. They definitely ask for our opinions sometimes. I'm, for example, a big hip hop fan as well. So if it's more sort of, hip hop oriented or more urban oriented, they ask me like, what do you think? So that's where I come in. But they are so capable of signing and spotting artists themselves that they definitely don't need me or the rest of the marketing team to do that. So we sort of, are a bit more in the background when it comes to that. But it's always, I mean, we did the world biggest demo drop last year during ADE, and the winner won a release on our label, on Spinnin, but also on Musical Freedom, which is Chesto's imprint, obviously. And we called him to tell him, like, you're the winner. And we filmed that, and he was just screaming. He went mental, and that was so fun to sort of see the response and almost see like the dream happening. That's fun. That's always the best part. And we recently signed another artist, and he came into our office, and we have like the big Spinnin S, and he was like, "Oh my God, I'm here, the big Spinnin S." I've looked at that for years, and so he made all sort of pictures with that huge S. So that's nice, and that's sort of the reason why we're doing this.
Nice. That's really cool. You've had some massive hits on spinning across the years, and I wondered if you could tell us about a release or campaign that you were behind that you worked on and enjoyed the most.
Yes, I wouldn't say I'm the one behind it. It's always a team effort. I don't want to take any credits that aren't mine. But I've been with Spinnin for over 7 years, and I'm fortunate to have had loads of fun within my job. And one of the tracks that started out, one of the tracks that we're currently working on is Ombos and Sevex. It's called Move Your Body. Mm-hmm. And that track started out as an absolute club banger in our mind, at least. But it quickly found its way to a bigger audience. And that was mainly due to some funny meme content that we have created internally ourselves. And we've uploaded that on the Spinnin TikTok channel. And that specific video went completely viral, which was a lucky shot, I must say that. And it gave an enormous boost to the sound within the platform. And we are now at over, I think, 2 billion views and over 290K creations in total. And that hype that we've created within TikTok completely transferred to the more traditional portals too. So at Spotify, we have amassed over 80 million streams, and we are literally just getting started. I think we peaked last Friday at 860K streams a day. And across all portals, we're at 130 million, which doesn't even include user-generated content. And we have a top 10 hit in Germany. And it's just so fun to see that something that started out as a really cool club track, because it is a cool song, and then through TikTok, and then something that we created internally, it was just like a funny dance meme, sort of took off, and now it's taking over the world. That's sort of what makes it most fun. My job, at least.
That's mental. Congratulations, first and foremost. That's mental. That's mental numbers. Holy moly. TikTok seems like that's the Wild West. Like, are you still kind of playing and going, right, this piece of content we think is going to do really well, and then it dives, and then something you think doesn't think it's going to do well gets 2 billion streams. Is that the landscape?
100%. I mean, I think it's sort of a utopia to think that you can sort of create viral hits for each track. It just doesn't work like that, you know. You get a lucky shot once in a while, and in the end, it's all about the audience and the creators, and sort of also the combination of marketing efforts that are taking place. But I think a lot of record labels, or maybe even a lot of artists, sort of feel like, okay, you create a cool video for me, then we go viral, then we have a hit. If it only was that easy, I would have had those 20 hits each week. It's not.
Yeah.
And also with this release, I mean, there were loads of key drivers after TikTok. We spent money on social advertising, on YouTube advertising, on creator marketing, on DSP marketing. We are pushing this one to radio. We are talking to all the streaming portals. So it's not just that little viral meme in TikTok. It's the start, and then the whole machine sort of starts running, if that makes sense.
That's cool. That's really cool. So, and is that the sort of the plan with each of those records? Like you say, you're releasing so many records a week. Is it the release happens, then the spark maybe happens, and then it's like, right, we've got a spark. Let's put some more people into it, and then some more money into it, and then it's this even try and grow like a I guess like a fire. Like you're trying to build that fire heat up. You know, am I right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you have to sort of push where it moves, and that's a little bit of the easy route, so to say, because we also have tracks that are for a different reason very important for us, for the artist, for the label as a whole, and aren't connecting all at once. And that's fine as well. Then we just have to look for new ways to market those tracks further. And that can be out of TikTok as well. It's not that TikTok is now the holy grail, there are different routes to take. But there's also a point of, I wouldn't say giving up, because that's again is a negative word, but sort of say, okay, we've tried, we've done our best, and now it's time to move on. It's just sometimes hard to pinpoint that exact moment.
I guess there's only so many things you can try, and there's only so much. If it's still just not, it's just not landing at that time in that place, and such is life.
Yeah, it is. It is live. And if you service a track to radio and all the stations are like, no, not going to play it, that sucks, or whatever the reason is, and the DSPs are like, no, not really a fan of it, there's not much happening, then and TikTok's not happening, and you've spent the money, then it is what it is. And then we just focus on the next one, because that's the fortunate thing in dance music. DJs are very productive. So we usually have other tracks, to tap into. But if we feel like something, even if it's a little flame, is burning, then we jump on it 100%.
That's very cool. And then from a TikTok point of view, like you're saying, it's not, like you say, it's not just that one video, that one thing. Like, how heavy are you going on it? Like, how much content are you making for a release? And is there a 2-week, 3-week window where you're kind of going, right, we need to heavy on content, and then we see what happens? And how does that kind of process work for you?
Yeah, I mean, we usually start promoting a track a little bit before release, because you do want to create a certain hype and a certain buzz. And you can just do that by, sharing some snippets, if it's on the social media channels or on SoundCloud, or you do a premiere on TikTok. There are multiple ways to sort of, start the little fire that we just talked about. The release obviously is a big moment, but we always intend to sort of warn our artists, because a lot of artists, I think in general, not only within spinning, I've been in the music industry for 12 years, I've seen this happening before. If the release comes out and the new Music Fridays, for example, aren't as much as you've hoped for, they're like, no, it's ruined, we can't deliver anymore, this is it. And we're like, no, it's totally fine, this is just the beginning. We will find our way. And that can be through dance music lists, playlists within Spotify or social media or whatsoever. But, keep calm. Release week is important. I get that, but it's the start. And we just want to make sure that we have enough content to stay in the picture for at least the next few weeks. And if if a track is sort of taking off a bit more than months, because you need to have something new to tell. You don't want to repeat yourself and just going, it's out, it's out, it's out. That's not interesting. Everybody knows. Nobody's waiting for another post stating that it's available. We know.
Yeah. Are you planning, from a marketing point of view, are you planning kind of, right, this is release week's coming, we need these pieces of content weeks in advance, days in advance?
Yeah, we do. And we have full-blown social schedules. When are we going to post what's in which channel, in which time frame? It sounds very professional. It kind of is. So that works. And we also want to make sure that we have, content from the artist, but we also deliver content ourselves. Like I said at the beginning, we have a big video and design team who are very creative and come up with loads of content for our priority releases on a daily basis, literally. So yeah, that's in place.
And then I guess after that, it's being reactive and seeing content.
Yeah, you just have to see what works and what doesn't, and adjust along the way. That's what marketing is about, really.
A question from the audience quickly: Is it good? These are new, from like smaller artists and new artists. Is it a good idea for them to release on other days than Fridays? Because it sounds like a good idea to them, but obviously there's a load of noise around Fridays. And is it kind of breaking the mold, because that's going to help with their marketing and their kind of promotional push, and being a bit disruptive on that?
We've done that before. Usually then the day before, to sort of, hype it up, like tomorrow's new music, but we have something in store for you now. We've done that a few times, but I wouldn't say it's disruptive anymore, because it already happens quite a lot. And you're still competing with the tracks that come out on the Friday, because on Friday the big, refreshment day of the playlist. So it doesn't really matter.
I know we talked about community earlier. Do you do things if you're, when you've got a big release? What sort of community stuff are you doing that's just for your community, and that's just secret, and just because that that they've got this little group of this certain amount of fans in certain places, that maybe you do something special just for them? Or do you do that sort of thing?
Yeah, we do. We have done, like, for example, they get a preview of the official video that hasn't been out yet, or an exclusive live set just for that certain, small group of people, or a Q&A, when you can speak directly to the artists themselves. So
Nice.
yeah, we intend to nurture those people because they are the ones who get the ball rolling from the beginning. We have to.
Let's talk about the coming years. I noticed in the kind of music business worldwide post today that your focus is more and more going to be on the kind of Web3, NFT, maybe augmented reality. And we've been doing these things called power-ups for our streams. And if you've been in the chat today so far, we've been dropping little links for power-ups. And these are like basically proof of attendance, little NFTs. And we create them for all of our streams. I sent you one this morning for yourself to be part of our little power-up crew. So collect our power-ups. They're in the chat. What we do with them is you click on them, you put them in your power-up wallet, which is on your app. And at the end of the year, we can use in power-ups, there's a raffle feature. And we basically will do some raffles at the end of the year and give away some prizes to those people that have turned up and been part of our stream and been part of the community. So get in the power-up game. We've been dropping them through the chat throughout the stream. And there's some in the Discord for previous streams if you've missed those and you're part of them. But I'd love to talk about what you're doing from an NFT point of view and a Web3 point of view at Spinning.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a focus point for us at Spinnin, but also at WMG as a whole. And I mean, it's still early days. We're definitely working on a lot of cool stuff, but I'm afraid that's still very much in the works and therefore in-house info. We are currently looking for an innovation manager to join our team. So a person that will be 100% focused on Web3 and NFTs and the metaverse as a whole. So if you feel like you're the one, reach out.
Yeah, do it, gang, do it.
Right? And I mean, we've already done quite a few things so far. We've released a first NFT with Chesto during EDC in Vegas. And the theme of that collection centers around the eagle, sort of a recurring image seen across the Don't Be Shy produced album artwork and the live visuals. And the All Access Eagle NFT represents phase 1 of his efforts in the space and grants holders VIP access to purchase his forthcoming NFT titled Eagle. And that includes the promise of early access to new music, additional perks, and everything is still yet to be announced, but it's going to be very cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah, it was. And especially, having an artist like Chesto to collaborate with, that's, the dream. And we've also done a campaign with Block Party. And that included an auction for a golden wristband for our Spinning Sessions Miami event. And that collectible also came with an all-inclusive party package, including round-trip flights, VIP accommodations, like the whole event you have been taken care of. I think that sold for like 10 or 11K. So that was quite cool. But we've also worked together with Timmy Trumpets. He is an artist that is like totally embracing Web3. And we have done a pre-save campaign around his single, Just In Case, where fans were able to pre-save this song and have the chance to win an exclusive NFT that was worth at least 10K, plus a trip to a huge Web3 conference in LA. So that is sort of like our first 3 steps, so to say, into this new world. But like the press release also said, it's so on top of our list. I mean, we can't ignore it. It's going to be part of the new marketing game.
So it sounds like you're baking in like really good, rewards for the people that embrace this world with you at the start, which is amazing.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, I reckon. And we try to make combinations, between digital, in-person, Spinning, the artist, make sure like the complete package makes sense and it fits and it actually is an added value instead of just, selling the artwork, for example. That's, yeah.
Do you feel that the NFT space at the moment is it's around community and it is around enhancing that community and that like you spoke about the whole way through, it's about kind of either rewarding or building that community by using this new technology at the moment and that's the best way use at the moment as the technology grows?
Yeah, 100%. I agree. like I said earlier, it's not about grabbing the money and run. I don't think that makes sense. And I'm not accusing any people who do that, or think badly of them. It's on their own game, but we feel like it's about that added value. You really, 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 really want to have it. That's the coolest thing of an NFT, right?
I heard a really good, when I was at Bright Music Conference the other day, and I heard a really good, I was sat on the web NF3 chats, and there was a really good analogy of how when in the old days, you would buy the kind of box set vinyl and it had the artwork in it and the folded thing and maybe it had a t-shirt and that's kind of where we are now with digital and the collectibles and it's a similar sort of vibe. And if you consider it as that considerable, like why you're buying it is because you get all these extras that you wouldn't have got in. And
exactly.
You feel the same?
Yeah, 100%. It's about a certain exclusivity that you need to give the buyer, I reckon. So that's definitely what we're aiming for. And that's the reason that we gave people not only the digital collectible, but also the VIP access and also the flights and also the trip to LA, and it just makes it complete, in my opinion.
That's cool. I've been playing a lot of Roblox with my daughter and getting into. I've been user testing my daughter and understanding the platform of Roblox, and I've been seeing loads of really cool stuff. Like Spotify have just done their Roblox collaboration. Are we going to see a spinning talent pool Roblox hybrid of fun?
Maybe. Yeah, hopefully. Let's keep it at that.
Okay, let's talk about global expansion. You're expanding into like I said at the moment and different markets, and you expanded into China. And is part of your role to look at these kind of emerging markets? And can we chat about kind of how you go about understanding them and like where your thoughts are in different places and why you move into them?
Yeah, I mean, it's all very exciting. We now have people on the ground in the US, in UK, and indeed in China, which brings us so many opportunities. The experience, the knowledge, and the network these colleagues bring in is invaluable, and it opens doors that have remained closed for such a long time. And especially the Chinese market, I mean, it differs so much from the Western one. And I really feel like we should not have the arrogance to think that we fully understand what's happening over there while sitting in our office in Hilversum in the Netherlands. I think that's the stupidest thing you can do. So you need to have those resources in place. And I mean, again, we are lucky that we are able to work with Warner as well, and that we have the fortunate position that we have over 20 years of experience in dance music within the company, that in combination with the people that we have on the ground, in combination with the very good close collaboration that we have with the Warner affiliates. At Spinnin, we are very good at sort of creating a hype and creating a buzz and create that story and that narrative from the ground. And once we get there and we need the big guns, then Warner steps in and they bring in the local knowledge, the local resources, the experience, the budgets that are much needed in certain territories. And then you can really, really create a hit. And that's literally what happened with Own Boss, for example, which we've just listened to. We created that buzz initially from a club perspective, from Tik Tok. Then Warner Germany raised their hands and said, okay, we love this song. We want to work it as well. And now it's a top 10 song. And it took them loads of time, loads of efforts, but it paid off. So that combination is really cool.
That's mental. You got the kind of big arcing shoulder of the major labels kind of go, right, we're doing this now. It's working well, but now you come and help us, and that's mental.
And I mean, we're realistic. We can't expect Warner to work all of our records. That's way too much. They have their own roster. They need to work Ed Sheeran and Dua Lipa and David Guetta, and we get it,
just some small artists. Fuck on
but once something is happening and it makes sense to start working together, then we definitely don't back out of it, and we help each other out. And now we have two girls working in China who are focused on marketing and streaming, and we are already seeing so much increase of revenue, but also in terms of of visibility for our artists, support on the DSPs, collaborations that we are now all of a sudden able to set up. It's really cool, and it brings in another dimension. It's definitely one of the most fun parts of my current job.
That's cool. You've got people on the ground. I guess, like you're saying, that people on the ground is the gold, basically, isn't it? It's like because the platforms are different, and like China, it's a lot of places. It's the whole thing's closed down anyway, so you'd have to be local and have to be.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think that they are able to sort of, take over the world. And I'm all for world domination, but it needs to be realistic. You need to get help. You can't do it just from the Netherlands. It doesn't make any sense, especially when it comes to building those relationships.
Yeah. And then I guess like China, is it similar platforms? Is it similar streaming platforms? Is it a whole different land? Can you just tell us about that landscape a little bit?
It's very different. To be fair, I learn from these girls every time I talk to them. Literally, they have something new to tell me each week, and they don't work with Spotify. They don't have Spotify in China. It's all about NetEase and QQ Music and Tencent. That's their biggest platform, and that's so sort of intertwined with Weibo and Douyin, the Chinese TikTok. Social and the streaming platforms are they're like one. It's almost the same. So it's a very, very different approach. And I mean, literally everything is in Chinese. I don't speak a word, so I need these girls. 100%.
That's cool. But that must be a nice part of the job. It must be a nice part of the role. Like you're now the high, one of the highest places, and it's about understanding all these parts and understanding, being essentially the producer of all this magic, basically.
Yeah, and we also try to stimulate them to work with their own priority schedules as well, because we set certain priorities each week, which makes total sense for Europe or for the US, for example, or the Western part of the world. But if I tell the Chinese girls, like, you have to work this and this song because it connects in Europe, they're like, but nobody knows who that artist is in China. But that artist that comes out on that week, he has a live profile, he has a social following, so I prefer to focus on that artist instead. And then I'm like, go for it, just see what connects within the market, instead of sort of bluntly going for, okay, this is a global priority, let's deliver. It doesn't work like that. It's again about conquering territory by territory.
Do you then have to start, like, obviously you're starting again at the start with some artists in that territory? Is it about them building that story and building, like we spoke about before earlier, and build the story and start at the base level before you can kind of punch a record?
Yeah, I mean, we have a few artists that definitely already have a fan base over there, mainly because of their social profile and the live profile. Live is very important. I mean, that's one of the biggest, problems due to the corona pandemic, that's sort of, on his ass at the moment. But those, like the DJ Mac artists, are still very much happening within the Chinese markets. We sort of, build further on an already existing base. And what the girls always tell me is that artist involvement is key over there. You need to communicate, you need to do the interviews, you need to go live, you need to deliver content that connects to the Chinese audience, because that's very different than, what connects with the Western audience. So it's very, very localized, and artists need to be willing to put in the work, time, and efforts to achieve that.
With those platforms being so close, do you have to basically send artists there and get them making content and doing it? Is it kind of, right, you're going to China now for 2 months or 2 months, and you were going to focus more heavily on there? Is it literal? We have to send you there and you have to be on the ground as well, the artist that is as well?
Preferably, but with Corona, that's not an option. Like, the country is still sort of closed. So we need to find different ways. So that's the reason why it's so important to connect with the fans and the audiences through those social media channels, through Weibo, through Douyin. Have these Q&As again, do these interviews, just talk to them.
Yeah. And I guess some of these artists in the chat, that are they able to do it from here, or do they have to have?
We've done a lot virtually, just from their homes. So that's definitely possible. But once the Chinese market opens up, we definitely have to have a few artists on our roster that we want to, send that way and create
cool.
opportunities further. Yeah.
And we spoke a lot about DJs and producers and spinning, and I thought, well, we talk about you again. You've written a massive influence behind the scenes, and which is inspirational for so many, including myself. Like, congratulations once again, but also for so many young women. And maybe you have some advice for those that don't want to be DJs but want to work in music and want to work in behind the scenes and work records, and maybe young girls that want to be vice presidents at some point.
Yeah, it always feels a bit weird to talk about myself like that. I think what I did was work very hard. That's one. Never give up. Speak up as well, and stay true to yourself. I mean, I see a lot of people, not only women, just that they start sort of playing a role. They feel like they need to act tough, for example, or need to be bitchy, or need to be, I don't know, act like a leader. You don't need to act like a leader. You need to be a leader. It comes across as unauthentic, and it doesn't get you anywhere in the end. And in order to do that, I think you need to believe in yourself and your capabilities, and understand that you are just as good as your male counterpart, for example. That's the reason you should never give up. Hence the reason you need to speak up. And in the end, I mean, just love what you do. Work needs to be fun. That's definitely the motto within Spinnin Records. Work hard, play hard. The spinning parties are absolutely legendary, and I'm always sort of, on the forefront of that. With it in my hand, and I feel like that's also an important part. It doesn't. You need to get up every morning and feel like, okay, I want to go for this. Let's kick some ass.
There's a definite fine line between kind of kicking ass but also being horrible about it. Like, there's like that balance between it's okay to go and kick ass, and there's some people that go take it too far beyond that, and it's like they're just nasty, and you're like, what are you doing? Like,
I don't believe in that. It doesn't get you anywhere, and sometimes you need to be maybe a bit critical, and that comes across as maybe not nice or maybe a bit harsh, but that also comes a bit with your job. It's about sort of the flair you bring into it, and the way you communicate and be critical of people. You need to build them up, not tear them down.
One thing I'm always interested in is when you are working in music, and music is essentially your hobby for a long time, and then it becomes your work. And obviously music is stressful, and music is full on lots of the time, and it's definitely 24 hours a lot of the time. What do you like to do as your other hobbies? What are you into? What keeps you mentally sane and maybe healthy?
That's a good question. Sometimes I feel like I'm just working. I have a daughter that's almost 5 years old. That really keeps me on my toes. So she just demands time, which for me is a good thing, because then I need to give it to her, and that's relaxing for me as well. So that's amazing. I read a lot of books, actually. Love reading. I still love to go out all the time. I know I've been in the party scene for quite a long time, but I can't get enough of it. So that's what relaxes me as well. Go to a lot of concerts, hang out with my friends. So sort of the typical things. But I hate sports. I'm not. No. People always tell me, like, you need to do yoga. I'm like, no, I can't do that. I'm not relaxed enough. Nice. So yeah, that's it, I reckon. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, we've got some questions from the audience. Are you ready for these? Oh my days. Right. Oh. They're going in. Okay. Plenitude. What type of TikTok engagements do you think as a label works best for artists that do use TikTok? I'm guessing it means content, it means engagements. But
yeah, I guess so, right?
Yeah, right.
Sort of circling back to what I've said before, it depends on the artist. It needs to be a proper fit. And sometimes that can be really funny shit. And sometimes it needs to be way more serious because the artist is not doing that. So there isn't one golden formula. Otherwise everyone would do that. And, it would be very easy to sort of use that platform and create hits. And it's just not like that. I used to work with Jason Derulo on the Conyo song. Jason obviously has a huge following. So he created this little dance and that went absolutely viral. But then you have the dance. Dancing is popular within the platform, and you have Jason Derulo. So yeah, then it's easier to start a trend,
Yeah. How important is it for Spinnin that a new artist already has a following? Skeleton Keys.
No, it's not. I mean, it's about the music. It's about the story behind the music, the narrative that we can tell. And I think it's even more fun if an artist doesn't have any fan base, but is like this golden child. Not a child, that would be crazy, but a prodigy. Very talented. Let's keep it at that. And then we can totally build it from scratch. And that's also the fun thing about being the repertoire owner. We have to create literally everything from scratch. There's nothing. Artwork, banners, music video, all sorts of content. But that makes being a marketeer creative and fun.
You mentioned before you obviously have a team and you have your own team for making content. Do you then make content for the artist specifically, or are you advising them, or is it kind of a mix?
Both. Yeah. It happens quite a lot that we create content for them. But I mean, it's absolutely amazing that if they had a big show and they filmed some cool things, we can use that to our advantage as well. We just spice it up a little bit and off we go. So that's definitely a two-way street.
That's cool. I guess, yeah, because you've got, when you were talking about these artists with no following, I guess you've got this machine that is spinning that you can go, right, well, we know what we're doing. We can create the content. We can make kind of work with you on the story and the kind of promotion and all the parts that do put together to make marketing essentially and build the artist that way.
100%. That's the fun part.
Yeah, it sounds, man, I'd like to do that. It sounds fun. How important is a podcast to the addition to the music and your own videos? Sammy Artist asks.
I mean, I found it a tough question, to be honest. We have been chatting internally about launching a podcast as well, but we are just sort of finding the right form. It needs to stand out. It needs to be something different and engaging, and people need to want to come back for it. We at Spinnin haven't found that sort of right formula yet, but I think it can be a very nice addition to an artist if you have that right formula or that right format.
That's cool. And we haven't really spoke about the kind of live platforms and obviously you have a big presence on Twitch and I see your channels popping all the time. And obviously now we're moving out of the pandemic. Is there still a kind of, is live still part of the plan? Is it still part of the plan for newer artists? Is that kind of, are you using that platforms for those artists? And what are you doing live?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, our music is made for live, right? So it would be such a big mistake to miss out on that part of the marketing mix, so to say. So that's definitely on top of the list. So we will keep engaging within Twitch, within Discord, YouTube, definitely part of that as well. Yeah, that's always part of the strategy, actually. And live in person even more.
Yeah. I guess my thought is that obviously a lot of people don't get to play live gigs when there is these platforms where you can be live and you can give yourself a gig every week, and then maybe that forms your podcast. And it's good to hear that you're engaging on them still as well. Like I love being on Twitch. And okay, here's a good question: are all decisions as being driven by the revenue and existing markets, or would you guys ever push tracks in a new genre to build a market?
Definitely. That's part of our existence. My God, 100%. Like I said before, we intend to be ahead of the game, and on top of the curve. And you can only do that by taking risks and spending money and making investments. And sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. But if you don't do that, you will always remain the same. And other people, artists, labels will pass you by 100%. So, revenue, obviously, it's important. We are a commercial company. I can't lie about that. It's the reason of our existence, but we can only make money if we also take these risks and keep reinventing ourselves and improving ourselves along the line.
That's cool. Okay. Do you have any tips for newer artists just in the kind of marketing, content, social to get them going?
Again, I would say a combination about the things that we've previously discussed. In the end, it starts with the music, 100%. It needs to be good, and it needs to either tap into existing trends or maybe even create a new trend, I would say. Content-wise, obviously, I think especially when you're just beginning, just go and try, see what works for you, see what doesn't. As long as you stay true to yourself, it's okay. You just have to sort of shape your own identity. I wouldn't recommend people to become a copycat of other artists. We have seen that quite a lot of times during the pandemic, to be honest, because people were like, we're not going to release music that is meant for the live stages. So we're going to make music that is meant for radio, but that wasn't their core ability, the core of their music and what their fan base connects with. So it was really odd to see like this big sort of EDM big room DJs now delivering radio records, and everyone was confused. The streaming portals were confused. Radio was confused, like, but isn't he like the one from that song? Yeah. So it was sort of like nice try, but not really. So that's what I mean with sort of stay true to yourself, but dare to take risks though. So it's a fine line, man. I don't know. I wish I had.
Yeah, I guess that must have been hard from a marketing point of view. Like you've got these records that are normally big club records or big club artists, and then they're going, right, I want to put this ambient track out, and you're going, well, how the hell?
Yeah, or they just expect it to be, on all the big radio station because it was more commercial sounding, and we were like, well, yeah, it does sound more commercial, but it's not really, what radio is playing now. Or the competition is just so fierce because everyone was sort of doing that. So I'm so excited that we are now sort of getting back to normal, so to say, and that people can just work from their own strength and work from their own opportunities and what fits them.
That's cool. Thank you so much for doing this, and thank you so much for being here with us today. It's been amazing fun, and thank you for your time, and congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having me, Graham.
See you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you found this interview interesting, consider giving it a like and a comment. It helps with the YouTube algorithm, and let me know your biggest takeaway below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch. I'm back on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and you can check out the schedule from the link below as well to see who's coming up in my interview series. I'll see you in the next Twitch stream or the next YouTube video. I'll see you soon. Bye.